Welcome back to Beyond the Track with Daniel Blair. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is going to be a fun one. We're talking to an Olympian, which is cool. Really cool. I got a lot of questions about that. Felicia Stancil is going to join us today on Beyond the Track. Felicia, let's start. Well, first off, welcome to the show. Rude of me not to just welcome you.
Thanks for having me. It's so nice to officially meet you.
Yeah, you too. I got a lot of questions. I'm going to start with the most random question. I don't even know if you'll have the answer. Hopefully you do. Do you watch Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg on Peacock covering the Olympics?
I did not, but I think I saw some like TikTok videos of it, and it looked pretty funny. Did you see some of it?
Oh, they were really funny, but that's why I was wondering if you happened to make it onto their coverage, because they were doing like this post Olympic coverage each day, and I was like, did you end up on there? Because that could be a good or bad thing. So I'm taking it you didn't end up being discussed by them.
I don't think so, but I'm gonna take a look now. They're hilarious.
Okay, that was pretty good. Well, welcome to the show, and congrats on the Olympics. We're gonna get into what happened there. I know it didn't turn out the way we wanted, and I think could have been a big difference in the outcome if it wasn't for the crash. But congratulations for going and representing the USA. But let's start with the finale. What happened?
The Olympics or World Championships? The Olympics?
Both. Give me both. Give me both. Start with the Olympics.
Okay. First of all, can you hear the storm outside right now? There's a
why? Where are you? Yeah, where are you?
I'm in Indianapolis right now, and it just started raining, of course, right when this podcast started.
You sound good.
But okay, that's good. So we'll start with the Olympics. Yeah, it's been an eventful month, but I've been feeling great this summer going into the games. I've honestly felt probably the most physically prepared I've ever felt. And I was very like mentally calm the entire Olympic Games. I was like very present and just enjoying the entire experience. So the Olympics is brought into 2 days. The first day, 24 girls and 24 guys compete in the Olympics. So the very first day, it's 4 motos of 6 people. And I was like thrown into probably a harder one right away, which is like great. Like, let's just start this thing right now.
Let's just make it difficult right out of the gate. Fine.
Yes, exactly. And I was enjoying it. And the first day I ended up first, second, which I was winning the other one, but then made a mistake. So I was still feeling like really, really good for the second day. But the semis, the second day it's 16 girls, 16 guys. And I look at the start list for the semi for the Olympics, and there's fast riders everywhere, but mine was definitely very hard. I think.
Okay, I know all about that, right? Because when you're in Supercross and you're qualifying for the main event, sometimes you just have like the bad draw, right? You're like, how did like the 5 or 6 best all end up in mine? I mean, like you said, they're all good, but sometimes it tilts a little bit. So I take it you had the tough one.
It was so tough. Everyone was like commenting on social media that it was like the Olympic final right away. So yeah, it was really, really tough. I had like Elise, the current world champ, Mariana, the current gold medalist, Zoe, the European champ, Saya, which is the best girl from Australia. So all 5 of us were just thrown straight into the semi. So very first lap of the second day, I was like, this is the final. And I just want to like start it off on a really, really good note. And so that was my plan going into the first day. So it's 3 semis and then the final for the second day. And only 4 girls qualify out of the semi to the final. So I knew I was in a really, really hard one. Try to start off on a really, really good note. And I ended up winning the first one, which like set me up to like being in good position for the next ones. And then I believe I got maybe 3rd or 4th for the second one. I kind of like relaxed a little. Like BMX is also a game of saving energy at the right time, right place kind of thing.
So was it like the first gave you a little bit of comfort to where you could get yourself in with strategy, save your strength for finale, kind of like that?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's smart to be somewhat strategic because obviously the finals the only thing that matters. So
Right, right,
you gotta get to the final, but you want to be feeling the best at the final. So
right.
I think it's good to be strategic here and there. And then the third semi, I was feeling good again, but the lap time of the third semi goes into gate pick for the final.
Okay.
So then that's when you want to have like another great lap. And um, I ended up winning that one as well. So I was feeling really, really good. But a crash happened with two people, which like slowed my time down a little.
Okay.
But yeah, so it when I first saw the semi, a lot of emotions were going through me. I was like, this is the hardest semi ever. Like, but then I ended up qualifying first out of it, which was very, very like just a good feeling to like
Yeah.
qualify first out of one of the hardest semis that I've ever been in. But then the whole Olympic experience, there was a lot going on with crashes. Like my teammate crashed, and then there was a crash in my semi, which caused more delays. And there was just a lot going on throughout the Olympics. And I think when my teammate crashed, I think it kind of changed the tone of
Like a
possibly.
mood shift, kind of just
Yeah, exactly. Um, when Connor crashed,
mhm,
so I think that kind of changed the tone a little.
makes sense.
Yeah, I was still like focusing on myself, but I think it changed the tone throughout the team, and um, just I. It's really hard because it is the Olympics, but I honestly was so calm and I was very, very present and I was ready, but I just didn't show up to the final prepared. Like there's stuff I know now that I wish I knew before the final, and I think I would have made a different decision if I knew that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely would have made a different decision if I knew that stuff, which is kind of a struggle because like if you have your best race for BMX and you know you made every decision right, and then someone just straight up beat you, it's so easier to live with that because
Hmm.
you know you made every decision right, and that day someone just beat you, and it's like you can live with that like pretty easy. So um, it was a bit hard after that because I was like, I don't think I made the right decision based off the knowledge I had at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, but then it's like, okay, well, it's done. What's done is done. I'm world champs in 2 weeks. So, God,
Right. So like it give you a chance to at least think of what's coming next and kind of move on like with your focus anyway. Like just shift the focus.
exactly. It was definitely, I was like a bit heartbroken, but if you like look at my social media, I was trying not to portray that at all. I was just trying to like put my focus into the next race. Like what's done is done. I do wish I had different knowledge before the final that I found out like a couple days later. But I just was like, okay, I'm gonna fix those mistakes, and I want to do amazing at World Champs. So I just came back from that, and I was feeling really really fast. It was a great track. Poppendale is always good. I've had probably my most World Cup podiums in at Poppendale, so that also gave me some more confidence. I was feeling pretty good, like this might be my race. And then um, qualified first, or I was in a hard semi again. I keep getting put into all these hard semis. But then qualified first on that semi, and then had a really like probably an average hill during the final for World Championships.
Hmm.
Uh, my final for the semi was really really good, and then my hill was just average. I think I was maybe fourth for the final, but then my legs were feeling really really fast, and my all my preparation was still great. So I ended up being second place going into the first turn for World Championships final, feeling great. but then I got caught in a crash and
Mhm.
my back wheel was taken out, which is like nothing you could do about that.
Right.
So yeah, so it's been a month.
So been a tough month. But I mean, what I'm getting from this though is the preparation was there, the speed was there, everything was there, but it just didn't all glue together. Is that kind of fair to say?
Exactly, yeah.
So I want to ask you about the emotions of the World Championships, Olympics, because I know they're very similar as far as the priority. When in Supercross, when you come to Anaheim 1, like the first round, there's all these emotions, there's distractions, there's this hype. But then when you get on the track for the race, you kind of forget about that because you're like a racer again. Is it similar for you when you go to the Olympics and there's the hype and all the outside stuff? But then when you actually get onto the gate, does that all kind of go away and you get locked back into what you're doing? Or is there some crossover still with those emotions and just like, the dramatization? Oh my God, I'm not even going to try to say the word. I'll get it wrong. But just dramatizing the event itself. Is there some crossover there, or can you put that out once you get on the gate?
I think it's different for everyone. For the Olympics, this might be due to the fact. So my dad had me race my very first World Championships at 9 years old.
Okay.
So I grew up loving like the pressure. The pressure, I actually like thrive under the pressure. But I mainly focus on the process, and then
Mhm.
just the day of the race. I'm I just live in the moment. So for the Olympics, I honestly, this was my point of view, and I was pretty oblivious to like how it would affect other people's emotions. My like thought process, I just didn't think of that. I wish I should have thought about that more, how it could affect other riders, because there's all these great riders. Everyone was looking past at the Olympics,
Mhm.
and I was just kind of locked in my routine. And honestly, I barely remember seeing a camera. Like I could tell you, like I don't remember looking at the stands once. I barely saw a camera. I was just so locked in, and it honestly, the entire experience did not feel like the Olympics to me. Probably until I crossed the finish line in the final, I was like, "What just happened?" And I think that's when some emotions came. But I didn't. Yeah, the whole experience. It. Yeah, I was pretty locked in. So it's different for everyone. It's honestly different for everyone. Um, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's experiences, right? Your experiences along the way is kind of make you who you are and how you handle those situations. You said you started at 9. Let's go back to those kind of beginning days. Why BMX? Where was the influence? How did this start? And then why straight to the big stuff? Because I mean, you could ease your way in, but it sounds like you got at it and went right to the big stuff immediately.
Yeah. So I didn't know that this isn't super common, but my dad was a professional BMX racer. So I don't think it's as common in BMX racing. I know it's very common in all the other sports, like professional sports. So I am very lucky that I had him. And growing up, it was mainly just me and my dad. And so I was just a complete daddy's girl. He loved the sport. He like spoiled me so much just with bringing me to like all these races and just keeping me very, very busy with athletics in general.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad was probably a very big influence on the athlete I am today.
Yeah, and I mean, you obviously have options, right? When you're coming up, kids try everything. You gravitated towards this because that was his background. I mean, the earliest days that you can remember, was it like goal oriented? Like, I want to be a professional, I want to do this, or was it more of just like, I want to do a little bit of everything, and this happens to be one of those things? Where was that pivot when you're like, I want to be really good at this?
That didn't come later into life till I was about 16 years old. My dad had me try so many sports. So my dad had me racing snowmobiles. My dad had me racing BMX, volleyball, basketball, track and field, baseball, softball. My dad just had me extremely busy in all sports. And it was later in life, about 16 years old, the year before you turned junior pro, is when we had like more deeper conversations at like family dinner, like, do you want to go to college? What are you going to pursue? you're pretty athletic in these sports. I think I was the best at volleyball and BMX racing. So it was like, okay, you are good at these, but you're doing county tournaments versus world championships.
Right.
So it was kind of an easy decision based off that.
Oh, so I see. So being good at both, you probably enjoyed them both, but one of them you're competing locally, maybe regionally. The other one you could literally go to the world championships. So is that what it is? Like, just, I guess the ceiling on one was way higher than the other.
Exactly. I loved
Wow.
all of them, and I loved sports growing up.
So explain how this works to me. This is new, and I'm assuming most people watching this will be new to them too. Explain the transition in professional racing, like you said, that 16, 17-year age. How does that work? And then kind of take me through that decision and how it went for you out of the gate.
Okay. Yeah, so when you're 17 and 18, those are the first years you could race down the Olympic starting hill, which is an 8-meter starting hill. And so I kind of became very serious into it right away. I knew right when I made the decision, this is what I want to pursue. I locked in, and that was my goal. So I tried some World Cups to race like the faster elite woman at that age, maybe just 1 or 2 a year, because there's about like five, now 10, because there's 2 days of World Cups on the schedule now. And before it was just 5 stops, 1 race. So I was just trying it out, and then World Championships at the end of July each month. So those were always my big goals, and I ended up doing very, very well in those junior world titles, which was kind of gave me the confidence of I want to pursue the Olympics and I want to keep going. So just one door kept opening, and then yeah, I competed in Tokyo.
That's crazy. Okay, explain this one to me then, because the Olympics always go in these blocks of every 4 years, or winter, summer, kind of rotate. Do you look at that schedule and time it? And I guess this is a question for probably all Olympians. Do you look at the schedule and go, okay, there's certain things that I have to be ready for at this specific time? Because right now, we have a while until the next one. Is there a little bit of strategy as far as being prepared and competing in certain things and having success at that right time to make sure that you're hitting on all cylinders for the Olympics, and especially for the qualifying?
Yes. Because the first step is qualifying, and it's a 2-year process for BMX racing. So exactly 2 years from the Olympics, I believe it started September 1st, 2018. This year was a little different because of COVID adding the extra year. But that's the first step, is qualifying. And based on the countries, so 24 girls and 24 guys were able to compete in Tokyo. So the top 2 countries were able to send 3 riders. So you want to just show up to every single World Cup between in the 2-year process before the Olympics, which is maybe 16, and including World Championships. And you just want to do your best to get those country points to qualify.
Oh, I see.
And then it's within the country to decide their own rules of who qualifies. So there's like 2 different systems. There's one system of like how many riders are qualified, and then the USA had their own point system on who was leading and
okay. So who to send then? So you have like the rules that will allow the number allowed from the country, and then inside that system is, okay, who are we going to send? So obviously, like you said, it takes a couple of years to generate all these results to figure it out. I mean, they're not just picking off of one race and going, okay, you won, you're in. So it's accumulation.
For USA, yes. So
USA.
It's different for every single country, which is kind of gets a little complicated. USA this year, they made it very, very black and white. So it was less stressful for us athletes, I believe, because you only get a point if you're in a final.
Okay.
For the only the World Cups and World Championships the 2 years before. And you get 1 point like 4th through 8th, 5 points first, 4 points second, 3 points third. And so it was a pretty simple point system. And then the top riders would be qualified. And there's only 4 or 5 girls that scored points and 3 guys that scored points. So it made it just
Oh,
very black and white because you had to get
yeah.
to the final. Like semi, quarter, no points at all.
So you had a similar little group that was all getting all the points. So you kind of had an idea of who was in range of getting this thing for a while, I'd say. But you kind of had an idea.
For USA Women is a little different because Elise and myself were pretty consistent throughout the entire process, and me and her had pretty high points. She had, I believe, 30 points, and I had 18 points. Well, we only had one other third girl with 1 point, which was Brooke Crane, and we were qualifying 3 positions because me and Elise were in pretty much every single international final. So we had this third spot kind of wide open, because if you were made a final, you'd get a point, then you could tie Brooke. And so at the beginning of this year, these younger girls saw that there's like a third spot kind of wide open, and it was like it was somewhat entertaining in my perspective because I was a bit more relaxed, but I was like, who is gonna like, all these USA girls are coming to the World Cup, they're battling for this third spot. And it was kind of exciting to see these younger girls like go for it and show up to these races that I haven't seen race before. And yeah, a 20 or 19-year-old girl ended up getting a podium at the very last World Cup.
Oh, wow.
And so she got the spot.
Wow. So that is wild. I always wonder how the qualifying systems work, and I'm assuming every sport's a little bit different. So that all kind of makes sense because you got to be at your A game, but consistently. They don't want you to just come in. Like you said, that third spot, someone came in and earned it at the very end, but for the two of you out front, it was stacking those finishes over the course of a long time, knowing that you're all good. You're going to be there. So I want to ask a pretty cool question here, it'll relate to Supercross. Jet Lawrence and Joe Shimoda, 2 young up-and-comers, one from Australia, one from Japan. And if you go on YouTube, you can actually see them racing each other like on little 65s, like traveling the world. And now they're friends and they're laughing on the podium. It's funny how these relationships get built young and then they carry like into their pro careers. What's it like for you with international racers, the other American racers that you see all the time? Is it similar in that vein where you like meet these people young and then here we are 3, 5, 10 years later, you're still racing and having these relationships? Is it similar like that?
It's very, very similar. I was just talking to someone at World Championships, and he's the Japanese Olympic. His name's Yoshi, and we traded jerseys when we were 14 years old in like 2012. I forget what year, but we traded jerseys when we were like over 10 years ago, and now we both just went to the Olympics. So it's pretty funny in that aspect, yes.
And is it weird then looking back too? Because again, maybe at 14, you're trying your best, you're competitive, but you're not really seeing that far out yet. And knowing that you were able to get to the Olympics and then you see them, is it just one of those like full circle kind of things where you're like, I was just a kid not that long ago and now I'm at the Olympics?
Yeah, it definitely is having that full circle feeling. And it's really interesting to see like just some people's motivations in like other people's countries. Like a lot of people in BMX, I didn't like, it's a pretty small sport, but some people like Laura Schmolders, she wasn't as successful as an amateur, but then I don't know if that just drove her more during like her first like few years, not few years, but her elite career. Like she's been very successful as an elite woman. So it's really interesting to see like people's like amateur versus like professional career. Like, were you super successful in that? Did you keep the drive? Some guys as well, like very successful guys now, they've been doing the sport forever, but I was like, how come we weren't friends like growing up, but now we're like super good friends? So I think that's very interesting to see too.
Okay, in Supercross, this is a big topic of conversation too. As you're getting to be 16, 17, 18, and life all of a sudden becomes really fun, right? You're becoming an adult, you get freedom, you get to do all these things. with that comes distractions. Like, what was it like for you during that period where you're goal oriented, you're trying to accomplish something, but you're also a late teen trying to enjoy life too? How was that balance and kind of keeping it fun, but also staying motivated so you could excel to where you're at now?
My 2 junior years when I was 17 and 18, I was addicted to winning. So I really
So you
was.
were like all in at the right time. When everyone was distracted, you're like, nah, I got goals.
I was very addicted to winning growing up. Like right when school was done, I kind of saw it as like, okay, what's my summer job? And I saw like BMX racing as my summer job, like training for world championships. And then championships was the last week of July every single year. So I just saw that as my summer job. And then I would go to worlds, like execute my best. And then school would start again. Then that would give me like another thing to keep my focus to. So I was already like always like, I just need something to drive for.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy timing though, right? Because like friends are all going out having a good time. Did you ever have those conflicting moments? I know I did as a kid, where I'm going to Supercross at 16, 17, and my friends are all at home doing fun stuff. And I'm like, part of me feels like I was missing out, but then I knew that I was doing something kind of unique. Did you go through any of that, or were you just like too motivated to even see it?
I think I went through it a little in college. So I ended up going to college, Marion University, for cycling. I was raised in Illinois, and then this school offered BMX as a scholarship in Indiana, which was the state next to mine. And it was really hard to pass it up, purely because I was always like pretty good at school and BMX. That's like all I did my entire life. So I went to Marion University, and then so I was a little distracted during those times, yes, because it's college, and yeah, but I don't regret it at all. I have a degree, and it was like an amazing time to do school and BMX with people doing the same thing. It's so
Okay.
nice. Yeah, it's
So
very nice.
you're in school, and maybe the influences that are coming in are from people that do the same thing you do. So at least like again, the focus to, I just have to imagine it's hard. You're at college and you're like, but I got to do this, but gosh, this is fun. But I guess if you have the same group that have the same goals, probably makes it a little easier.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a really good experience. Like go through something similar with other people. That was a good experience.
How about travel for you? Obviously, you're all over the globe. Do you like traveling? Do you? I mean, I used to. I kind of, I've kind of lost the love for traveling. But where are you at right now? Because I know you're doing a lot more than I'm doing. Are you still loving just seeing the world and seeing the country and going everywhere?
Yeah, I am. I think it's part of it. And right now, kind of like we were just talking about, I was a little distracted in college, but now that I'm done with college, I'm kind of just like very locked into BMX right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that comes traveling. So I just see it as part of the journey. Sometimes it is nice to like be in a routine, and that like it's hard to control a lot of stuff while traveling. So it is nice to be at home in your routine with familiar faces. But I also am like good friends with like most people traveling too. So I kind of enjoy the entire journey, and I'm pretty locked in. Like this is what I'm doing till like
Right.
2024. Like since I was distracted in those college years a little, like I'm fully locked in right now.
Making up for a little distracted time. So what does happen next then? Kind of take me through the process. I mean, in a broad sense, on what would happen from now till 2024. What is the calendar look like for you?
Olympic qualifying starts next September. That's kind of crazy. 1 year from now, like it just finished. So
and I have to imagine that feels different too, because the Olympics got pushed a year. Normally you would have a little bit more time to kind of settle in, but because of it getting pushed to 21, now the whole system, or the whole, I guess, schedule kind of feels revved up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be different not having as much time off, but at the same time, like I said, I'm pretty locked into the sport right now. And in USA, we race so much. So I'm just excited to like get more races on the calendar and kind of just keep it going. Like the 6 months before the Olympics is very crucial. So we'll like strategize a lot the 6 months before the Olympics to peak at the right time and just like be smart with everything. But right now I'm purely excited to get more races on the schedule and just keep it going.
Keep it going. All right, let's transition into Supercross. I know you're a fan of the sport, but I want to kind of transition it this way. So Chad Reed, legend, Supercross legend, very active in the BMX world right now. The Reed family on Instagram is the absolute best to watch. All three kids they're getting into the dirt bikes a bit more right now, but they've been all in on BMX, traveling. Have you had a chance to talk to them at all, Chad or Ellie or the Reed family at all? I know they're fans of you, but have you had a chance to meet them, talk to them?
Yeah, that family is just amazing. Like, I love them so much. The race before Tokyo was in Rockford, Illinois, and they let me pit with them for the day. And they're just such a sweet family, and they're just super cool too. Like, they're awesome, and their kids are doing awesome. They're getting better each year. It's so cool. They're getting good really, really quick. Like, it's amazing to see their progress. So
they work hard. The oldest boy, he is, I think, pretty into it because he gets pissed when he doesn't win, and I love it because it's like he's so fired up. And Ellie always posts photos of him just all mad, and I love it. I mean, you love seeing that, right? Just a little guy all motivated. But what about their daughter, who is also, I mean, from Instagram, I can't tell. I don't know the sport well enough, but it seems like she's doing really, really good.
All three of them are doing amazing. Their progression just within the past 4 months since Rock Hill. I hung out with them a lot in Rock Hill and Dothan, Alabama as well in the beginning of the year. And just their progression since then is unbelievable. The oldest one, I believe he got second place in South Park, and he was making moves in the X. He just turned expert. And so it was just like amazing to see his progression. They're going to be unbelievable athletes, and like they got an amazing career ahead of them.
And I think they have pretty good guidance. Chad, I don't know if you know the history. He was pretty good at this racing thing. He's kind of his thing. So I have to imagine the influences will be pretty good on the kids. But with that said, again, Supercross that's my background, that's Chad's background, and you are a fan of that. When did the fandom of Supercross begin for you? Is this something that you've always kind of liked? Do you like it more now than before? Just kind of take me through just your thoughts on Supercross.
I've always been a fan. I've tried to go at least to one Supercross race for the past maybe 8 years. So just traveling to BMX races, sometimes a Supercross race would be like during the same like location, and then we would like end up going to it. So I at least go to one, but all my friends are obsessed with it, and now I'm doing fantasy for it, and I like have my favorite riders, and I get so into it. I love it so much. It's probably like one of the biggest things I talk about outside of BMX.
So you mentioned fantasy. I used to play. It was too frustrating. It started affecting my job because I'd be on the podium interviewing a rider and I'd be mad at them for something from like the week before. So does fantasy frustrate you as much as it does me, especially if maybe one of your favorite riders doesn't do what they should do that week? Does it get frustrating?
For me, no. The people in my fantasy group this year, I saw the frustration. I see it more of as like a challenge. I love it. I'm even like looking up all the riders on like social media. I was like, how are they feeling? Like, do they have like good energy this week? Like, do you think like trying to like put like my experience in BMX and like into like, oh, this person's feeling like kind of calm and confident, I'm gonna put him for the win.
Oh, I see. So while your friends might be, I'm here. So while your friends might be looking at lap times and that stuff, you're looking more on the demeanor. Like, are we good this week? Are they feeling it? Where your friends are like, well, they were fast in practice. Last week they got this, and you're going full mental. Like, is the mental game strong?
I look at the practice laps too, but a little of both. You gotta like do a little of both, I think. But I think it's a challenge. It's really fun. I love it.
It is, and it just, for me, it was affecting my job. I think it was Shane McElrath. He's a good friend of mine, and I was pretty upset with him one time. And on the podium after we were done, hey, good job. I was like, dude, you really burned me last week. And he was like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm sorry that I affected your fantasy league. It didn't affect my life at all, but I'm sorry for you. And I was like, all right, I got to stop playing. I'm out of this. As far as your favorite riders, though, who would be some of your favorite riders and why?
So I love a lot of athletes. So I don't just love these two. So many of them are so good. But right now, I love to see Chase Sexton come up. And he's from Illinois, so I'm from Illinois.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there some of that territory? You guys are in the same area. He came from there. Is there some of that going on?
Yeah, and he's number 23, and I'm number 23 in BMX.
Okay, so he's like perfect for you.
Yes, so
awesome.
I love to see him come up, and he did amazing, and I think he's just gonna like keep building on what he has right now. So I would love to see him do amazing. And then Aaron Plessinger, I like him as well.
How can you not?
For real,
mean, right?
He's hilarious. I love him.
He is. I don't know if you've noticed this, but he's always been he's got a little that, Southern boy kind of style to him. I feel like it's been accelerated this year, though. He has really embraced, like, I'm that guy. And I feel, because I know him very well, and I'm like, man, Aaron, you are, he's playing into his role pretty good right now. And I think everyone loves him for it.
Yeah, his like just personality off the track is amazing too. I actually have a dilemma right now. So those two currently are my favorite riders. And like I said, for World Championships, I was in second, but then a crash happened. So I ended up 7th this year. So today I actually have to make the decision. Should I run 7 for next year, or should I run 23? It's like, I did not plan this to be my like 2 favorite riders. Like,
well, and Aaron was number 23 before he was number 7.
Yeah, this is a dilemma.
So this is a mess. So what are we thinking? What are we gonna do here?
I don't know. I need to make the decision today.
I'll throw this out there. Just throw it out there. The 7th isn't probably accurate to how good you are. Is that fair to say? The 7th is not where you would have been normally without the crash, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you run 7, because that's a poor representation of where you really belong in the class. Might stick with 23. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's smart. I might go with
maybe
that.
that's just one variable. I'm sure you have like a lot of them. I'm just coming at it from like right now in the convo. So there's other variables to include, but I would just say I don't think you're the 7th best. So maybe you don't run 7 because it doesn't represent you properly.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay. All right. Well, then I don't. If that's the decision, I want 1% credit on helping. Just 1%. I want some influence, a little bit.
I think that was the decision. I was purely going based on how cool the numbers look. So
7's good. 7's good, but so is 23. 23 looks cool too. So I think you're good either way. So you're from the Illinois area, obviously Indianapolis kind of now. Did you find like a permanent home there? Do you like it there?
Yeah, so I was raised in Illinois, but then I went to Indianapolis for college. Then I just got a place here after college. So I really like Indianapolis right now. There's always a Supercross race here every year. So I love that. But I might make a move soon. We'll see. For these next 3 years, I'll just be open right now. The Florida scene has been awesome for BMX, and it's pretty awesome for Supercross too. Just a lot of riders are there. So I might make a move there. I think the weather's beautiful, tracks are beautiful. So we'll see.
Is that how it works kind of too with BMX? Is there certain scenes in the country that are really where it's more active, let's just say, and all of a sudden there's a lot more talent? I know that is, my son races amateur racing, and you see like where a lot of the talented kids are coming from. And I think it's because they're all together a lot. Similar or something like that for BMX?
Yeah, to some aspect. Growing up, I remember a lot of fast kids were from like the West Coast, like the AVA fast kids, because it is hot, so they could ride all year round. But now for what I do, like over half my racing is on the Supercross hill. So I have to kind of look at that as a place to live. And Florida has 2 Supercross tracks, and it's beautiful weather. And so yeah, I think it's more the tracks kind of like attract the people. And
so yeah, not as much the competition, but more like where can you prepare correctly?
Correct, exactly.
Okay. give me your short-term and long-term goals. I mean, 2024, I imagine you already said it, so I have to imagine you're focused on 2024, but what is the short-term goal for you now? Is it that, or is that more of a long-term goal to be prepared for?
That one's definitely a long-term goal. Right now, I'm racing Louisville next weekend, which is a USA BMX Supercross race. And so the short-term goal right now is the USA BMX title because I am up for that this year. So I have 3 more races, one each month to finish off the year. And yeah, so I'm gonna try to go for the USA BMX title, which I think me and one other girl are kind of up for at the moment. So I'll give my best for that one.
And then 2024 would be more not on the focus at the moment, but that's just in the back of your mind, getting ready for to go back in 2024 and make it happen.
Exactly. I have a lot more goals before that. Like overall Supercross each year, that could be a goal. World Championships each year. So USA BMX title. So there's a lot more goals before the Olympics, but that is definitely a long-term goal that will be at the back of my mind.
Awesome. Okay. Last question for you. A lot of kids I believe, are easily influenced by people that have success. My son's getting into that right now, where he sees riders that are doing well and he wants to be like that rider. For you, you're in the position now to be influential to others. What kind of message would you give to a young kid coming up who maybe likes it, doesn't know if they like it, maybe they love it and they're all in, they want to be an Olympian, they want to be a champion, they're kind of in that stage where they don't know all the way? I guess what kind of message could you give to them from your experiences on what path they might take and what they might need to do to, achieve what you've done and be a star in the sport and an Olympian?
First of all, thank you. That's really nice of you to say. My biggest advice would just to have fun for a bit. Growing up, I did have a lot of goals, but growing up, I could see people getting burnt out of sports sometimes. So that's one thing I'm kind of glad I went to college for, because now I'm fully like locked in. So I don't see myself getting burnt out anytime soon, but have fun with it for the moment. But when you do really, really want it, first you have to like really, really want it. I would say focus on the process a little more than the results. And then that will get you the results that you want. I've noticed a lot of people just like focus, like, I want to like get this sponsor. And it's like, focus on the process, focus on just bettering yourself, and all that stuff will come when it's right. But yeah, have fun, focus on the process.
It's funny you say that. I was told when I was really young, if you want to make a lot of money, don't focus on making a lot of money. Focus on being successful, and then the money just comes. Is it the same kind of thing where instead of focusing on the sponsor or the results or the win, focus on the process and all those things just kind of follow? Is that kind of same kind of thing?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Growing up for World Championships, every single year is the end of the summer, but I was just like every other kid. I wanted to go play with friends, and I wanted to go watch TV, play like video games or something. But something that my dad helped me to like give me a little more drive was, we had this like huge whiteboard in the garage, and every single time I did a sprint, I would like put a tally on it. So growing up, I would do maybe 7 sprints that day, which is, I thought was so much at the time. Now, like,
you're like, what?
I remember thinking like 7 sprints so much. Now I do like 25 in like 2 hours. But once I got to like 150, I was able to do something fun with my dad. Like me and my dad were like really close growing up, and we just loved to travel and race bikes all the time. So once I got to like 150, I got to go to the arcade with my dad, which I was obsessed with. So I think that helped me focus on the process, but kept it fun at the same time, like gave me a reward of the process. So I kind of try to do something similar now. Like, yeah, I just focus on the process. And once you tick those little goals off, like go to Top Golf with your friends for the weekend, like do something fun, but focus on the process.
I love it. Always force yourself to earn the things you want, even in unique ways. That way you stay motivated. I love it. Felicia, thanks for coming on the show. I've been looking forward to this all week, and yeah, this will be on the track. and I'm glad you were able to come on today.
Thanks for having me. It was great to talk to you, and yeah, thanks for letting me talk about my sport a lot.
I'll see you soon. I have to imagine I'll see you at a Supercross soon.
Oh yes, Indy is next March. I'll be there.
Awesome. We'll see you there. It's my favorite stadium, by the way, always has been. So I will see you hopefully in Indianapolis.
Awesome.